Chat, is that the chat?
We
That's
are
the
broadcasting.
Paula, Sherrod, welcome.
Let's see, how do I see
Rand,
the
Sheila, seeing some of the names again. Hi,
There's
Jan.
Rand, hey Rand. Rand's in Lebanon.
Julie.
Jordan.
Hi, Julie. Hi again. Seeing some familiar names. Thank you for coming.
Paula. Paula's in
Yeah.
Chicago.
Okay.
She's a nurse and associate. Sheila also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you guys don't mind, why don't you put your state or city that you're from?
That's a good
Where
idea.
people are coming from. Happy Friday, Julie. I know who you are. Roswell, Georgia. Oh, yes, that's right. You guys are opening up on Monday, I think. Oh, there's my husband.
Isn't he in the house with you?
No, I'm actually at my office.
Oh,
So, Amman, Jordan. Wow. Canada, Pennsylvania, Iowa. Yep. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Winnipesaukee, isn't that where they did the What About Bob movie, right?
yeah, that's right. That's a great movie.
Lake Winnipesaukee. Happy Friday from Chicago, the Windy City.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. Yeah, Barry went to camp there.
There's Jim Peterson.
Yeah,
Paula, that's Barbara. You
very
should
good.
put that in, Barbara.
No, it's good to see you all, or kind of see your names anyway. One new message. Thank you. We're happy you're here as well. We're very excited. So we'll just give just one more minute, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Like last time, we got lots, and Jim's got a really unique gift today. So, oh yes, Gregoire. Hey, Greg, if you can put in where you're from, that'd be great. Rand, you're welcome. Good. I see Rand is delivering a stress mystery online program this week.
That's
yeah,
right.
Use the polls, use the breakout rooms. If you're using Zoom, it really works well. And Gregoire is from London. Gregoire, Rand is over there in Amman, Jordan, not quite a neighbor, but as we would say here, across the big pond. So.
And Rand's got the SMQ in Arabic for anybody who's interested in taking it in Arabic.
Wow.
And we also have it in Spanish, French, Norwegian, and Polish.
Wow, that's great.
We can handle
anything
people from all over the world.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. And so, by the way, everyone, this is Andrea. She is sort of going to be our behind the scenes, the woman behind the curtain. And so welcome to our Emerge Stronger webinar series part 2. And thank you for all of you who joined us last time, and welcome everyone who's new. And like the last time, we've got a lot to offer in a very limited time. So we want to get as much as we can in 22 minutes or less so that we have some time for Q&A. Andrea, my business partner at Lindsay's Conscious Business, will be monitoring the chat box. So if you have questions, comments, she's going to be paying attention to that so that we can address those at the end. And so for those of you who don't know him, this is Dr. James Peterson. I've been working with Jim and his SMQ Stress Mastery Questionnaire for over 20 years with clients and teams. 600,000 people worldwide have taken the SMQ. He is the founder of Stress Master International, and it's been his mission, his life's mission and purpose to understand how stress impacts people, and has been sharing that with everyone. So great to work with you again, Jim.
Same here, Susan. And Susan has the same passion that I have, and that is to help others become more effective in their living through lowering stress and mastering stress. Susan is a globetrotter. She's constantly going around the world. She's a yoga teacher, teaches yoga to clients, friends, and family. And an executive coach. She has coached many people all around the world. She has a book out called Real Leadership, Waken to Wisdom. Great book. I recommend everybody get it. The other book she's coming out with is called The Real Culture, Catalyst for Conscious Business, and that's due out on June 15th. She's worked with money clients, including MasterCard, American Express, JP Morgan, MetLife, and a whole host of other ones. Welcome, Susan, and let's get started.
Let's get started.
Today, we're going to cover the physical signs of stress and how stress really impacts the body. Last week, we talked about really understanding the source of your stress and where it comes from. Today, we're going to be talking more about how stress affects us physically, and we're going to talk about how stress affects us as leaders and the importance of really becoming aware of stress in your leadership abilities. So Sue's going to take it off from here with a poll.
Great, thank you. And Andrea can put the names of the book in the chat. So let's start with the poll. So Andrea, if you can launch the poll. I'm going to talk us through this a little bit because I want to share some things. And so since COVID-19, I mean, this has been such a major upheaval for most people around the world. Pick two, you've seen an increase in, and this is inside of yourself. What have you seen in terms of stress inside of yourself? So pick two. So I want to share something with you about what I've been experiencing. Since COVID-19 hit, March 10th was my last travel, I've been in go mode. I'm not one of those people that had less to do. It's like I've had three times as much to do. About 2 years ago, about this time, I had a brother-in-law who was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And 5 months later, my brother-in-law died. And back then, similar to now, I went into go mode. I wanted to be there for my sister. I wanted to be her rock. I had a mantra, be strong. I'm fine, just keep going. And about a month before my brother-in-law passed, I had a physical at the Cleveland Clinic where I grew up and where my brother-in-law lived. And I learned my blood pressure was 140/100. And I was just like what? Because my blood pressure is normally, even now, 95/65. So I was in that go mode. I'm fine. Be strong, be there for my sister. And I was unaware of how stress was impacting me physically. So you talk about a wake-up call that day, because I had them take it 6 times because I just didn't believe it. And I'm a meditator and I kept working on trying to, take it down. And so, like my brother-in-law's cancer, COVID-19 has turned all of our lives upside down. I never went on blood pressure meds, but I've been taking my blood pressure daily for the last 3 weeks. And currently my blood pressure is 120/78. Now, most of people would be thrilled to have that. But remember, mine is usually about 95/65, 100/70. So that tells you clearly I'm experiencing some levels of stress because I have elevated blood pressure for my normal. So go ahead, Andrea, and share the poll. And so some of you have felt, I call the anger the yippiness. You're inside the house and we're yipping at each other, going back and forth. Some of us have been feeling depressed. I have purposely not bought any chocolate, and yet I hunt for chocolate every single day. My brain knows I have no chocolate in the house, and yet I still go looking for it. Same with procrastination, nervous habits. I fortunately, yes, I started to have a bit more alcohol myself, and then my body's saying, yeah, no more. And so I haven't been able to do any alcohol either. So no chocolate, no alcohol, but I got a lovely husband at home. So I'm going to turn this over to Jim. You can go ahead and stop sharing, Andrea, because he'll explain the impact of stress and these kinds of stressors.
Well, it looks like tension and interesting. There's nobody that smokes in this group, and that's good to know. What Sue experienced with the loss of her brother-in-law is really paints a picture of how stress can be a real sneaky thing. One of the things that most people don't realize is that stress can build over time, and in fact, it becomes a new normal for us. The stress response is what we're going to talk about a little bit here, just so we get a better idea of how this works. And I'm going to give you an example for myself too. So let's tell you a little bit about me. When I was 19, I contracted a disease called ankylosing spondylitis, big name, called AS. It's like rheumatoid arthritis, but I learned later on in life that there's a marker called HLA-B27, a genetic marker that people like me have it. And now not everybody who has it gets AS, but under certain circumstances, under stress, certain things can happen, and it can actually release or trigger the AS response to start going. I was playing tennis in a tournament in Chicago. Parks leave 2 days of 100 degrees, very hot, very humid. I got very sick. I think I had heat stroke. I went home, slept for the next day and a half, drank water. 1 week later, I could not walk. AS came into my life. So here I am on the bottom. Here I am, flat out on my back, putting hot, cold water on my feet, trying to figure out what I'm going to do. So basically, the good news is that I'm able to conquer I can't get rid of it, but because I'm able to handle the stress response better, I'm able to handle dealing with my emotions in terms of I don't worry about it anymore. I accept it for what it is. And so I think that's part of the message that we want to get across, is that no matter what comes at us in life, stressor-wise, could be physical, could be emotional, we can accommodate to it and we can work with it. So how does this work? The stress response, and we're not going to go into great detail, really starts up in the brain, and everything starts in the brain. How we perceive a stressor in our lives. The pituitary gland secretes a hormone called ACTH, amongst other things. And then down to the adrenal glands, which sits on the kidneys. The adrenal glands secrete adrenaline and cortisol. And cortisol is known as the stress hormone. Everybody's talking about it today. And we just need to know a little bit more about it. It's good. It helps us get going together. On Cell, you talked about eustress versus stress. Yeah, we need to be motivated. We need to get our bodies going, but we need to have it at optimal levels. When under chronic stress and we're going through a long period of stress like we are right now, look at the tension score on the pole. We are under stress. We need to do something about that to bring that down. So basically, the system is set up, our body's set up, the autonomic nervous system, with the sympathetic and parasympathetic. The sympathetic nervous system is really the stress response. This kicks things into action, and I think we all know about it, but just it's good to remember. It's the rapid fire get go, and it's effective in mobilizing us, but prolonged, contracted, it will cause damage. The parasympathetic really is the relaxation response. This is how basically the body comes back into balance, and we need that working at peak performance. We need it to get back to homeostasis. So effectively, we know that it's happening, but sometimes we're just not aware of it. Basically, what I want to do is talk a little bit about how stress impacts the leadership abilities. Remember, stress affects performance. It affects our behaviors. And how do we behave when we're under stress? Look at our leaders today. What kind of decisions are they making? Do you see our leaders now on TV stressed out and making mistakes? Well, what happens when you're under stress, leaders are affected in great ways. It starts, however, with the work-life balance problem. When we're basically working out of the home and then we have a home life, everybody says, well, we got to balance the home and work. Well, it's hard to do that. But the reality is now home and life are together. There is now this, if you're an executive and you're a leader, you've got to work out of your home. My son works out of his home, and my wife works with his grandson to keep him having anything to do with Jackson for about an hour so he can work. It's very difficult. Another thing that happens when we're under stress is the management remotely becomes really difficult. We can't communicate like we used to before. And actually what happens is that we're not catching some of the things we would normally catch when we're really in one-to-one or small group situations. So basically, stress is affecting the leader, the decision maker, greatly. The decision making is definitely affected. What happens when you're under stress? The frontal cortex is affected, and it becomes very difficult to concentrate and focus. And as a result, we make poor decisions. Next slide, please. Another effect of stress on executives and everyone else is fatigue. What happens with cortisol and other stress hormones is that the body becomes fatigued and begins to wear down. It doesn't have the resilience that it had before. And ultimately, health and productivity and health and wellness is affected. We become sick. We're seeing more illness. Plus, we're seeing more people trying to take care of themselves at home and having difficulty. And finally, in the last slide, we talk about 3 other important areas. Employee productivity. It's hard to keep employees who, if you're an executive and you want your employees at peak performance, it's really difficult to work with them from a remote location. You may become toxic. You may become an over controlling individual, or maybe you don't over control, you under control. You really don't know what's kind of going on. You're kind of confused. And then look at creativity. And we know that you need to be in balance to be creative. And most people today are not in balance. Again, back to the slide. Look at the tension around us. And last, presenteeism. What do we know about our employees that are working remotely and you're managing them? What are they doing? How well are they doing it? Are they really at their job? You can see it directly through their performance, but not as good as it used to be. So basically, by and all over, everything is happening right now to impact the ability of executives to really be a good executive and make good decisions. But how do you combat that? What do you do to bring that down? And for that, we turn to the relaxation response.
Yeah. So thanks, Jim. This is something that I teach a lot of my executives that I work with, and when I work with teams. You know, sometimes we have to help them become grounded and centered, and certainly we've been doing a lot of that remotely with some of our clients right now. And so, as Jim was saying, the relaxation response. But rather than describing the relaxation response, what I'd like to do is let's just go into the relaxation response. So, if you don't mind, and indulge us a little bit, is go ahead and close your eyes and allow yourself to let your shoulders drop away from your ears. I see this all the time. People, when they're stressed, their shoulders go into their ears. So allow your shoulders to drop, slow down your breath. And we're going to do a thing called 3-part breathing. It's something that I learned in my yogic practices over the years. So we ask you to keep your eyes closed so that you can stay internally focused and just shut out the world for a while. And now I'm going to ask you to exhale. And now I'm going to ask you to breathe into the count of 5. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now hold your breath, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, long exhale, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. And a long exhale like a sigh, 3, 4, 5. Inhale again. Hold. And exhale. And again, in. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale all the air out. 3. And then inhale. Hold. And let it go. And now one more time. Inhale deeply, gently, slowly. Holding the breath, suspend the breath. And now letting everything go, exhaling, relaxing. And allowing your breath to go back to long, deep breathing. The deepest breath that you'll take today, the next inhale, filling, expanding your lungs, and then letting it go. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. So why is it so important to manage your breath while stressed? We all know from sports psychology that if we're stressed, we don't perform. The same is true in business. If you want to get into the peak performance zone in sports, you've got to do the same thing in business. You've got to find that place of being in the zone where you are relaxed and yet alert. One of the things we know from yogic science is that when we are stressed, we already know this from, the sympathetic nervous system, we'll breathe rapidly, 15 to 30 breaths per minute. When we're just being normal, doing our PowerPoints and all that fun stuff, and I got to go here, get gas, dress up in my hazmat suit to go to the grocery store, you have to breathe. You breathe about 12 to 20 breaths per minute. To reach relaxation, you want to breathe at a rate of about 7 or even slower. This 3-part breathing puts you at about 4 breaths per minute. So if you want to put it in the chat, how many of you felt a little bit slower after doing that for 90 seconds? I've noticed that when I teach teens and leaders that at about 90 seconds, I really see the switch from the sympathetic, the fight or flight, to the parasympathetic, to the relaxation response. So good. Some of you got it. Great. Yeah, that was 90 seconds. So one of the reasons why I developed the real model, the real leadership model, is that as I coach people, I notice that if you really want to be effective as a leader, first get real, real leadership. But I also recognize that stress was one of the core things that prevented people from being able to perform. And so if you are able to relax yourself and have your team relax, meditation isn't as weird as it used to be. You guys can, 3-minute meditation before you start a meeting is great. When you're relaxed, you activate that relaxation response. And as Jim said before, you're going to have better decision-making. You're going to improve morale. You're going to increase teamwork and engagement after they get over this is weird stuff. Improve culture and communication. And, when people get into that place, they start moving into the peak performance zone. The corpus callosum opens. You get right and left brain thinking. You get a lot more performance and creativity. Another thing that I want to leave you with before we end this part of the webinar, you're going to get a 12-minute video on a thing that's called reframing. It's part of my Real Leadership, Real Culture online learning or e-learning program. And it's a great tool to help leaders and teams change behaviors. Once you can get into the relaxation response, then it's much easier to do reframing. So you'll receive a video and you're going to get a toolkit. So the very first thing, and I'm going to do the Cliff Notes version of this, the very first thing you want to do is identify the situation. Remember from webinar 1, name it. Name the situation that's causing you stress, your emotional response, and the non-useful behavior. Usually under stress, we've got some non-useful behaviors. Then you've got to go to the committee inside your head. We all have a committee. We are all multiple personalities. As long as you know all the other personalities, you're good, okay? So you've got to, understand that monkey mind, that internal dialogue, and you got to listen. Because what your monkey mind is doing is saying, hey, I'm afraid, I'm concerned, I have fears, I'm sad, I'm stuck. And, the non-useful behavior is really trying to protect you. Usually what I find when I delayer this is that it's trying to protect you usually from fear of failure, fear of making a mistake, being out of control, or fear of rejection. So if that's the positive intent, the other thing is to keep you safe, that's generating a non-useful behavior. What you want to do then is thank that part of you that's generating a non-useful behavior and all that monkey mind chat and say, you know what? Step 4 is, can we negotiate? Because this isn't working. I'm stressed and I'm yipping at my husband, and that's not healthy for us. So I want to avoid rejection. I want to avoid failure, but maybe are you willing to negotiate self to find a better behavior that gets me the outcome that I want? Safety, connection, and not rejection. And once you get that sort of yes, because you do have to get a yes there, you have to generate new ideas. So go into that creative place. So you're claiming it. Okay, yes, I'm doing this. You go into that creative place so that you can generate the new ideas. And what ends up happening is, if you can really feel like, yeah, I can do this, your self-talk, that monkey mind naturally changes. And then you do an ecology check. You might land on an idea. Your team might land on an idea. And so what it's meant by ecology check is that you future pace it. Will this work? Okay, well, then maybe I need to change this or that. Or yeah, it's going to work. You can find this. This is neurolinguistics. If you type in Google 6-step reframing, you'll find many, many versions of this. This happens to be mine, but you will get a video and the toolkit to go with it. So with that, Jim is going to take us back to what you can do personally.
Well, thank you, Susan. That's a beautiful exercise and well worth everybody getting it. We're talking today about how we can retool our bodies and our mind to be more back in balance. Some of the things we should be doing in addition to reframing and other things is walk, run, bike, get out and get the body moving. Exercise metabolizes the cortisol, brings it down, and brings us to a healthy state of mind. Do some dance, yoga, and make sure your day is filled with things that are back to back. You don't want too much idle time. Yes, you need some, but you got to have some purpose in life. Make that a priority. There are apps that are stress-free apps that where you can kind of take the exercise and follow the apps. And of course, do some meditation, mindfulness as we go through the course of a day. Change your routine. Create a new routine. If we get in a rut, even though we're in our homes, find something different to do and make sure you, or add a new creativity exercise, learn something. Put you on the calendar. Maybe you want to do some deep relaxation, some massage. Maybe your partner can do a massage with you. Socialize. Keep in touch with people, not just through texting. Call people up. Hear their voice. Make the connection with people. If you haven't talked to somebody in a long time, call them up and do some fun things. Have some laughter. Tell some jokes. Send jokes around. Great. I'm getting a lot of that on the text, which I appreciate. And then finally, Sue's going to finish up with leadership and the virtual community.
Yeah. One of the things I studied cortisol and all of that, but I didn't fully realize until it was just the way Jim said it this time is that, you need to move to metabolize the cortisol. And that was just like one of those one-liners. I'm like, ding, 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 that's so good. And that also, socialization reduces cortisol, which is that stress hormone. So as a leader, it's really important for you to create community and belonging first. We see a lot of teams getting together, Zoom or WebEx or whatever you're using, and they don't do sort of that deep connection and heart to heart. And everybody's going through these things, and what we're learning as we're working with teams, if we facilitate them having a heart to heart connection, doing a little breathing, just like what we did before, it's amazing. Communication opens up and trust deepens. So with that, next time we are going to show you some things to prevent and reduce stress. Jim's going to talk about the vagus nerve. That's a really cool nerve if you don't understand what that is, to help you reduce stress. And we're going to talk more about how to improve leadership effectiveness. And, we're going to take some questions. Yes, I like the cortisol point too. To help you emerge stronger, you're going to have access to these slides. You're going to get a recording of this program. You're going to get our Real Leadership, Real Culture e-learning reframing video and toolkit. And I'm so happy to announce that what Jim is going to do, he's offering up a video on mindfulness that you'll be able to look at, as well as he is offering to anyone here a free SMQ assessment that includes not only the assessment itself, the report, and the guidebook and the workbook. And then Jim will also help you understand your results with a one-on-one conference call or video call. So if you want to take the SMQ, go ahead and advance the next slide, Andrea. You can see Jim's email right there. Email him directly and he will get you set up and to be able to take that SMQ. So, if you're like me and you might have some things that are unconscious to you, like I've had some, this is a great way to measure where you are with things. So I've been watching the chat. I haven't seen really any questions, but we're open to questions. We have a few minutes left, or any comments that you'd like to add.
I like the comment that Barry made that the vagus nerve is bluffing in poker.
Yes. Yes, it is a gift that Jim is. And the next time that we get together, we're actually going to, Andrea, Cindy, who's also with Lindsay's Conscious Business, we are going to be offering a 3-month program for you and your team to help you guys develop the community, to help you create a new normal, and to help you emerge stronger as a team. So stay tuned for that one. Join us on Tuesday next week. And again, remember, contact Jim if you want to do the SMQ, and we will be sending out all of these wonderful little gifts to you. And if you have any questions around the reframing, let me know.
We do have one question from Nora. Nora has asked if you couldn't make the previous call and didn't register, can you get the recordings?
Yes. So Andrea, because Andrea and my other partner, Cindy, are like in charge of these things. Thank goodness. Keeps me stress-free. Yeah, we can just, you know what, actually, Nora, go ahead and email us and we'll make sure we send you the link.
Well, what we can do is anybody that registered for any one of the 3 series, we could send them all the information from all
the
3.
information. Perfect.
There you
That'd be
go.
perfect.
There we go. Super.
Yeah, and share it with, you know, your staff and things like that. From the last time, we have a Cliff Notes version 3-minute explainer video of the fight or flight response and things that happen. And then we also have an Emerge Stronger Team toolkit to go with it so that you can use it for yourself or with your teams. Any
Cool.
other questions, thoughts, comments?
Don't just manage stress, learn to master it.
Master it, as Jim says. So,
Great.
all right.
Well, we'll be in touch. Thank
We'll
you
be
so
in
much,
touch.
everyone.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate your coming. And see you next
TGIF.
week.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right.